The stars stretched across the view screen like diamonds scattered on black velvet. Captain David Morrison stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Unity, watching as the massive station came into view. The Galactic Council's headquarters was bigger than Earth's moon, a testament to thousands of years of civilization working together. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said Ambassador Rebecca Walsh, standing beside him. Her voice carried hope and excitement. Humanity's first day as members of the galactic community. David nodded, but felt uneasy. Something about this felt wrong. He had been a soldier before becoming a captain, and his instincts were screaming warnings. The Galactic Council had discovered Earth 5 years ago. At first, they seemed friendly. They shared technology, offered trade agreements, and promised protection. 47 different alien species all working together in peace. It sounded like a dream come true, but dreams could become nightmares. The Unity docked at the station, and Ambassador Walsh led the human delegation inside. The council chamber was enormous, with representatives from every member species seated in a circular arrangement. At the center stood High Chancellor Velkrin, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Velkrin's voice boomed through translators. "Today you join our family of civilized worlds." The ceremony began. There were speeches about peace, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. David watched from the side, his hand never far from his sidearm. Old habits died hard. Then came the agreement signing. Ambassador Walsh read through the terms and her face went pale. "Section 47, she said slowly. "Complete military integration under Council command. Immediate disarmament of all autonomous human forces." The chamber fell silent. Velkrin's expression didn't change. "This is standard procedure, Ambassador. All member species surrender their independent militaries. The Council provides all defense needs." "We weren't told about this," Walsh said, her voice tight. "This wasn't in the preliminary agreements." "It was always implied," another council member said. "A reptilian creature with cold eyes. Surely you didn't think you could maintain weapons while joining a peaceful union." David stepped forward. "Ambassador, we need to contact Earth immediately." But Walsh was already shaking her head. "We need time to discuss this with our government. This is not something we can agree to without consultation." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Velkrin's friendly demeanor vanished. "There is nothing to discuss. You will comply or you will face the consequences of your defiance." "Is that a threat?" David's hand moved to his weapon. 20 security drones appeared from hidden panels, weapons pointed at the human delegation. "It is reality," Velkrin said coldly. "Every species who has refused has been brought into compliance. For the greater good, for peace." Ambassador Walsh stood tall despite the weapons aimed at her. "Then humanity refuses. We will not surrender our freedom." The delegation was escorted back to their ship under armed guard. As the Unity pulled away from the station, David saw something that made his blood run cold. Through the observation window, he counted hundreds of warships gathering in formation. Council warships, all preparing to move in one direction, toward Earth. "Get us home," Walsh ordered. "Maximum speed." "We need to warn them," but they were too late. The Council fleet had already left, using faster ships and routes humanity didn't know existed. When the Unity finally reached the Sol system 3 days later, they found hell waiting for them. Mars' colony was burning. The domed cities that had housed 5 million people were shattered, open to the deadly atmosphere. Europa Station was simply gone, vaporized by weapons humanity had never imagined possible. The asteroid mining facilities were rubble floating in space. And Earth's defense fleet, the pride of human engineering, was scattered wreckage orbiting the planet. David felt sick as casualty reports came through. 20 billion dead, 20 billion people who had been alive a week ago, going about their lives, unaware that their invitation to the stars was actually a death sentence. The Council fleet sat in orbit around Earth, broadcasting a message on all frequencies. "People of Earth, your military resistance has been neutralized. Your colonies have been pacified. Surrender is your only option. Disarm completely, accept Council governance, and no more lives will be lost. You have 12 hours to comply." On Earth's surface, in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the President of the United Earth Government sat with her military advisors. General Marcus Torres laid out their options and none of them were good. "We can't win a conventional fight," he said bluntly. "They have technology centuries ahead of ours. They have numbers we can't match. If we fight now, they'll exterminate us, so we surrender." The president asked, No, said Admiral Sarah Chen, the highest-ranking survivor of the Orbital Defense Force. We activate Protocol Ragnarok. The room went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. It was humanity's last resort, a plan so desperate it had never been meant to be used. That will take years, the president said, maybe decades. Millions more will die. Billions already have, Chen replied, her voice hard as steel. They struck us without warning. They killed our families, our children. They thought we would break. They were wrong. The president looked at each person in the room. She saw grief, rage, and determination in every face. Do it, she ordered. Activate Ragnarok. Send the word to every surviving ship, every hidden colony, every human who can still fight. We're going dark, and when we come back, we'll make them regret they ever found us. As the Council fleet waited for Earth's surrender, they received a different message. Just 2 words, broadcast on every frequency, remember us. Then Earth went silent. All communications stopped. All lights went out. The planet went dark as if humanity had simply vanished. High Chancellor Velkrin watched from his command ship, confused. This wasn't how pacification usually worked. Species surrendered. They accepted their place. They didn't disappear, but he dismissed his concerns. Earth was beaten. It was over. He had no idea that it was only beginning. 3 months after Earth went dark, Council occupation forces finally landed on Mars. Commander Thrix led the ground troops, expecting resistance. What they found instead was nothing. The colony was empty. Not destroyed, not damaged, just empty. Buildings stood intact, power systems still running, food still in storage facilities. But not a single human remained. Where did they go? One of Thrix's soldiers asked, weapon raised at shadows. Nobody had an answer. The same thing happened on Europa, on Titan, on every human settlement the Council knew about. The people had vanished like ghosts, leaving behind functioning colonies but taking everything useful. Weapons, ships, supplies, even some of the manufacturing equipment. Gone. High Chancellor Velkrin called it a victory. Humanity had abandoned their territories and fled into deep space. They would eventually be found and brought to heel. It was only a matter of time. Ambassador Velkrin, the Chancellor's younger brother, wasn't so sure. He had studied human history during the First Contact period. He remembered reading about their wars, their conflicts, their stubborn refusal to accept defeat even when logic said they should. They're not running, he told his brother during a private communication. They're regrouping. Regrouping for what? The Chancellor laughed. They have no fleet, no industrial base, no chance of victory. Let them hide in the darkness. They'll starve or surrender within a year. But a year passed and humanity remained silent. The Council settled into their occupation. They established bases on Mars and Europa. They mined Earth's asteroid belt for resources. They even started sending colonists to claim the empty human territories. Everything seemed peaceful. Then the attacks began. It started small. A Council supply ship disappeared between Jupiter and Saturn. Search teams found nothing. No wreckage, no distress signal, no survivors. It was as if the ship had simply ceased to exist. Then another ship vanished. And another Council intelligence dismissed it as accidents. Space was dangerous. Ships sometimes were lost, but Ambassador Velkrin noticed a pattern. Every disappearance happened in the outer system, far from the main fleet. Every missing ship had been traveling alone, and every loss left absolutely no trace. Someone is hunting us, he reported to the Council. The humans are still out there and they're picking us off. The Council military laughed at him. How could a defeated species pose any threat? They had no warships, no weapons that could challenge Council technology. It was impossible. Meanwhile, in a hidden asteroid base beyond the orbit of Neptune, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Her strike teams had taken out 15 Council ships in 6 months, and the enemy still didn't understand what was happening. The element of surprise won't last forever, General Marcus Torres said, standing beside her. Eventually they'll figure it out. By then, we'll be ready for the next phase, Chen replied. The asteroid base was one of dozens humanity had built in secret over the past year. Hidden in the deep dark, camouflaged and running silent, these bases served as staging points for the resistance. More importantly, they housed the laboratories where human scientists were working day and night on new weapons. Dr. Elizabeth Park headed the research division. She stood in her lab examining biological samples taken from captured Council soldiers. Fascinating, she muttered, studying the data. They're all so specialized. The Velcrin species can only breathe nitrogen-rich atmospheres. The Thrix warriors are strong but have terrible reaction times compared to humans. The Quinn navigators see across broader light spectrums but process information slower. What does that mean for us? Chen asked, visiting the lab. It means they evolved on peaceful worlds where they never developed true combat instincts, Park explained. They fight like it's a game with rules. Honor, formations, predictable tactics. They've been the dominant force for so long they forgot what real war looks like. And we remember, Chen said quietly. We do more than remember, Park said with a dark smile. We innovate, we adapt. We find weaknesses and exploit them without mercy. That's what kept us alive on Earth for millions of years. That's what will keep us alive now. The resistance grew. Scattered human colonies the Council didn't know about became recruiting grounds. Every survivor who had lost family in the initial attack joined the cause. They trained in secret, studied captured Council technology, and prepared for the day when humanity would strike back in force. Children who had been orphaned by the attack grew up in the hidden bases, learning to fight from the moment they could walk. They learned that the Council had killed their parents, destroyed their homes, and stolen their future. They learned to hate with a purity that made even hardened soldiers uncomfortable. We're creating something terrible, Torres said one night, watching a group of teenage recruits practice hand-to-hand combat. Their efficiency was frightening. The Council created this, Chen replied. They wanted to break us. Instead, they tempered us into a weapon. Every human alive right now has one purpose: revenge. They made us into exactly what they should have feared. 2 years after Earth went dark, the attacks escalated. A Council patrol of 3 ships was found drifting in space. Crews dead from a biological agent that left Council species gasping for air while being harmless to humans. A military outpost on Ganymede exploded from sabotage, killing hundreds. The Council finally admitted they had a problem. They sent security forces to hunt the human resistance, but it was like fighting smoke. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They struck without warning and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Ambassador Velcrin requested an audience with the High Council. He stood before them, his forearms gesturing urgently. We need to negotiate, he said. The humans aren't going to surrender. Every day we occupy their space, they grow stronger and more organized. We made a mistake. Negotiate with terrorists? The Chancellor sneered. Never. We will hunt them down and eliminate every last one. The Council does not show weakness. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom, Velcrin argued. We don't understand how humans think about war. They don't fight for territory or resources. They fight for survival, for revenge, for their dead. They will never stop. The Council voted to continue the occupation and increase military presence in human space. It was exactly what Admiral Chen had hoped they would do. Every ship they sent to the Sol system was a ship taken from somewhere else. The Council was spreading themselves thin, reacting instead of acting. 3 years after the initial attack, Chen stood in the command center of the Resistance fleet. Around her, dozens of rebuilt and captured ships prepared for launch. It had taken 3 years of preparation, sacrifice, and suffering, but humanity was ready. Send the message to all cells, she ordered. Operation Wildfire begins in 72 hours. The long night is over. Now we show them what happens when you wake a sleeping giant. Across human space, resistance fighters received the signal and smiled. They had waited in the darkness, nursed their rage, and prepared their revenge. The Council thought humanity was defeated. They were about to learn the terrible truth. Humanity had never surrendered. They had simply been getting ready to fight properly. The Council supply depot at Proxima Centauri served as a major logistics hub for military operations. Positioned 3 light-years from Sol, it housed enough weapons, fuel, and food to supply a fleet for months. 200 Council personnel worked there, protected by automated defense systems and a small garrison of Thrix warriors. At Oro 300 station time, every single defensive system shut down simultaneously. The lights went out. Life support continued, but communications, sensors, and weapons all died at once. The station commander, a Velcrin named Soral, rushed to the command center. What's happening? Get systems back online. His technicians worked frantically at dead consoles. It's like something rewrote our entire computer network. We're locked out of our own systems. That's when the first explosion rocked the station. Then another. And another. The humans came through the walls, cutting through metal with plasma torches. They wore black armor that made them nearly invisible in the darkened corridors. They moved with frightening speed and precision, working in small teams that cut through the Thrix warriors like they were nothing. The Thrix were strong, much stronger than humans. But strength meant nothing when your enemy moved twice as fast and aimed for weak points you didn't know you had. Human weapons fired tungsten rounds that punched through Council armor like paper. Commander Soral tried to send a distress signal. A human soldier appeared behind him, silent as death, and a blade flashed. Soral fell, his forearms clutching at nothing. 15 minutes after it began, the station fell silent. When Council reinforcements arrived 6 hours later, they found the depot completely destroyed. All supplies gone or sabotaged beyond use. All personnel dead, their bodies arranged in the main hangar to spell out a message. This is just the beginning. High Chancellor Velkrin called an emergency meeting. How did this happen? How did humans penetrate our defenses? They used our own ships, the intelligence officer reported. Records show a Council transport docked at the station an hour before the attack. The humans must have captured it and used recognition codes to get close. Impossible, the Chancellor said. Our codes change daily. They're breaking our encryption, the officer said quietly. Or they have someone on the inside helping them. Similar attacks happened across Council space over the following weeks. A mining operation at Wolf 359 was hit. A patrol base near Barnard Star was destroyed. Every attack followed the same pattern. Humans infiltrated using captured ships or equipment, struck fast and brutal, then vanished before help could arrive. But what disturbed the Council most wasn't the attacks themselves. It was how the humans fought. Council warfare had rules. You targeted military installations. You avoided civilian casualties when possible. You accepted surrenders and treated prisoners according to established conventions. War was terrible, but it was civilized. Humans ignored every rule. They attacked supply lines, leaving Council troops stranded without food or medicine. They sabotaged life support systems on stations, forcing evacuations. They released biological agents tailored to specific Council species. Agents that made them sick but didn't kill them immediately. The message was clear. We want you to suffer, and they never left survivors who had fought against them. Council soldiers learned quickly that humans didn't take military prisoners. Surrender meant death. Fighting meant death. The only way to survive was to run before the humans arrived. They're barbaric, one Council member said during a debate. They fight without honor. Ambassador Velkrin, who had been watching recordings of human attacks, shook his head. They fight to win. There's a difference. We've been playing at war for so long we forgot what it really means. The Council military dismissed his concerns. These were minor attacks, isolated incidents. Humanity was desperate, lashing out like a wounded animal. Once the Council committed proper forces, the resistance would crumble. They decided to send a message of their own. Battle Group 7, commanded by Admiral Krenth, consisted of 15 heavy cruisers and 30 escort vessels. It was the largest Council force assembled in a century. Their target was the Epsilon Eridani system, where Council intelligence believed a major human base was hidden. We'll crush them, Krenth announced to his fleet. Show these primitives what real military power looks like. Battle Group 7 entered the Epsilon Eridani system in perfect formation, sensors sweeping for targets. They found the human base exactly where intelligence predicted. A large asteroid hollowed out and converted into a military installation. Target locked, Krenth's weapons officer reported. We can destroy it with one salvo. Wait, Krenth said, studying his sensors. Something's wrong. The base isn't powering weapons. It's not even trying to hide. The asteroid exploded, but not from Council weapons. It detonated from the inside, revealing that it was hollow and filled with nothing but explosives. The blast caught the Council formation at close range, shields barely deflecting the shockwave. Before they could recover, the real attack began. Human ships appeared from behind moons, asteroids, and even from the system's gas giant where they had been hiding in the upper atmosphere. They weren't the massive battleships Council forces expected. They were small, fast attack craft that moved like angry hornets. Each craft carried nuclear weapons. Not sophisticated Council antimatter devices, but crude human fusion bombs. Dozens of them accelerated to incredible speeds and simply rammed into Council ships, detonating on impact. Kamikaze attacks? Krenth couldn't believe what he was seeing. They're destroying their own ships? The ships are unmanned, his sensor officer reported. They're drones guided by AI. More human weapons emerged. Mines that had been placed in the system weeks earlier activated, homing in on Council engine signatures. Council point defense systems shot down most of them, but not all. When a mine got through, it delivered a nuclear payload directly to a ship's engine core. Krenth tried to organize a counterattack, but the human tactics made no sense. They didn't hold formations. They didn't follow predictable attack patterns. Every ship seemed to operate independently, targeting weak points and exploiting any opening. A human voice suddenly broadcast on all Council frequencies. It was Admiral Sarah Chen. "Welcome to Epsilon Eridani, Admiral Krenth. Your intelligence was correct. We were here. We've been waiting for you." "This is madness," Krenth responded. "You're throwing away ships and lives for minor damage." "Minor?" Chen's laugh was cold. "Check your casualty reports." Krenth looked at his tactical display and felt his blood run cold. In just 10 minutes of combat, he had lost 12 ships. 12 ships destroyed by an enemy that was supposed to be defeated and helpless. "Fall back," he ordered. "All ships retreat to jump point." But the humans had planned for that too. More mines activated along the retreat path. Human attack craft harried the fleeing Council ships, giving them no time to organize. Battle Group 7 jumped out of the system in complete disarray. Of the 45 ships that had entered, only 17 escaped. Thousands of Council personnel were dead or drifting in damaged ships, waiting for rescue. It was the worst military defeat the Galactic Council had suffered in 1,000 years. The recordings of the battle were shown to the High Council. They watched in stunned silence as human tactics tore apart their fleet. "They don't fight like we do," Ambassador Velkrin said quietly. "They don't care about honor or formations or showing strength. They care about winning, and they're willing to pay any price to achieve it." "Then we'll pay a higher price," the Chancellor said, his voice hard. "Assemble the Grand Fleet. We end this permanently." But across human space, in hidden bases and captured stations, Resistance fighters watched the same recordings and celebrated. They had proven something crucial. The Council could be beaten. The mighty Galactic Council, with its thousands of years of superiority, could bleed, and humanity was just getting started. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display showing 30 different star systems. Each one housed a Council world, and each one was about to become a battlefield. Behind her, the combined human resistance fleet waited for orders. 200 ships cobbled together from captured vessels, salvaged parts, and desperate ingenuity. "Operation Wildfire begins now," she announced to all ship commanders simultaneously. "Remember your targets. Remember why we're doing this. Remember Earth." The fleet dispersed, each group heading toward their assigned target.
Chen's own group, consisting of 30 ships,
headed toward the Thalaxian system, home to the Council's largest shipyard. But they weren't going to attack the shipyard. General Marcus Torres commanded the ground forces for Operation Wildfire. His teams had been inserted onto Council worlds weeks earlier, disguised as refugees or traitors. Now they activated, and their targets shocked the Council. On the agricultural world of Vreen, human saboteurs poisoned the water supply for the main farming region. Not enough to kill anyone, but enough to make the crops inedible. An entire season's harvest was destroyed overnight. On the mining world of Keth, explosives collapsed the main tunnel networks. Thousands of miners were trapped underground, requiring massive rescue efforts that tied up resources and personnel. On the industrial world of Quinn 7, a computer virus shut down automated factories. Production stopped completely, creating supply chain chaos across a dozen systems. The Council military scrambled to respond, but they didn't know where to send forces. The attacks were happening everywhere at once, and none of them were targeting military installations. "They're attacking civilians," High Chancellor Velkrin said, horrified as reports flooded in. "No," Ambassador Velkrin corrected, studying the pattern. "They're attacking infrastructure. Food, water, production, transportation. They're not trying to kill people. They're trying to make life impossible for them." "Why would they do this?" The ambassador looked at his brother with sad eyes. "Because we killed their civilians first. 20 billion of them. Now they're showing us what that feels like. The fear, the helplessness, the rage." A broadcast interrupted the Council session. Admiral Chen's face appeared on every screen across Council space. "People of the Galactic Council," she said, her voice calm, but hard as steel. "For 3 years you have occupied our worlds. You destroyed our homes, You killed our families. You did this without warning, without mercy, without cause. You thought we would surrender. You thought we would break. You were wrong. Behind her, footage played showing the attacks on council worlds. Cities in chaos, people fleeing, supply lines disrupted. This is not revenge, Chen continued. Not yet. This is a demonstration. We want you to understand something very important. You cannot protect your people any more than we could protect ours. Your military is scattered, chasing shadows. Your economies are collapsing. Your people are afraid. She leaned forward and her eyes held no compassion. You have 72 hours to withdraw all forces from human space. Return to your own worlds. Leave us alone. If you do this, we will stop our attacks and we will never bother you again. And if we don't? The Chancellor asked the screen, though Chen couldn't hear him. Chen smiled, and it was terrible to see. If you don't, we will show you what humanity is really capable of. You attacked our civilians. We have only been inconveniencing yours, but we can do so much worse. We have studied your biology. We have mapped your weaknesses. We have prepared weapons specifically designed to make your species suffer. The broadcast ended. The Council immediately voted to reject the ultimatum. They would not negotiate with terrorists. They would not show weakness. The Grand Fleet, consisting of over 1,000 warships, was already assembling at the Andromeda Gate, a massive space station that served as the Council's primary military staging point. We will crush them once and for all, the Chancellor declared. But when the deadline passed and the Council forces hadn't withdrawn, humanity showed them what real war looked like. The attack on Thalaxia Prime, the Council's fortress world, began with a biological weapon. A virus carefully engineered to affect only the Thalaxian species spread through the planet's major cities. It didn't kill, but it caused severe respiratory distress. Within hours, millions were sick, overwhelming hospitals and emergency services. While the planet's defenders focused on the medical crisis, human ships appeared in orbit, not warships but freighters modified to carry troops. General Torres led the landing personally, and his forces hit the ground in 100 different locations simultaneously. The Thalaxian military tried to organize a defense, but they were trained for space combat, not ground warfare. Humans had been fighting each other on planetary surfaces for thousands of years. They knew every trick, every tactic, every way to turn terrain into an advantage. Torres's troops moved through cities like ghosts, using guerrilla tactics that bewildered the defenders. They didn't hold territory. They struck command centers, destroyed communications equipment, sabotaged power plants, and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. 72 hours after the attack began, Thalaxia Prime's orbital defenses were disabled and its military command was in shambles. The human fleet moved into orbit unopposed. Planet secured, Torres reported to Chen. Minimal civilian casualties. Their military command is requesting terms of surrender. Chen smiled grimly. 1 fortress world down, 29 attacks still ongoing. Meanwhile, at the Andromeda Gate, the Council's Grand Fleet prepared to jump toward human space and end the threat permanently. Admiral Krenth, who had survived the Epsilon Eridani disaster, now commanded the largest military force the Council had ever assembled. All ships report ready, his executive officer said. Begin the jump, Krenth ordered. The space around the Andromeda Gate shimmered as 1,000 ships prepared to enter faster than light travel. But before they could complete the jump sequence, proximity alarms screamed. Human ships appeared from every direction. Not attack craft this time. These were proper warships, bigger than anything humans had fielded before. Ships built in secret over 3 years, incorporating every piece of Council technology humans had captured and studied. Chen had named them Wraith-class vessels. They were crewed by humans and assisted by advanced AI systems that made decisions faster than any living being could process. They were designed with one purpose: to kill Council ships as efficiently as possible. The Battle of Andromeda Gate lasted 8 hours. It was brutal, savage, and nothing like the formal space battles the Council was used to. Human ships didn't maintain formations or engage in long-range bombardment. They got close knife-fighting range, where their superior maneuverability and faster reaction times gave them the advantage. Human pilots performed maneuvers that should have killed them from the G-forces alone, their bodies sustained by combat drugs and sheer determination. They targeted specific weak points on Council ships that should have been impossible to hit. their AI assistants calculating trajectories in microseconds. The Council's numerical advantage meant nothing when human ships could dance through their formations, dealing death before the enemy could even track them properly. When it was over, the Andromeda Gate was a graveyard. The Grand Fleet was shattered, hundreds of ships destroyed, hundreds more crippled. The few that survived retreated in complete disorder. Admiral Krenth drifted in an escape pod, watching the wreckage of his fleet. His ship had been one of the first destroyed, torn apart by 3 Wraith-class vessels in less than a minute. A human ship approached his pod. Krenth expected death. Instead, they brought him aboard and took him to the medical bay. As they treated his injuries, he saw human crew members moving with purpose through the corridors. Young people, many barely adults, working with fierce dedication. Chen visited him once he was stable. "Why?" he asked her. "Why not kill me?" "Because I want you to deliver a message to the Council," she said. "Tell them this is what happens when they attack humanity. Tell them we showed restraint. We could have exterminated your crews, but we're giving them a chance to survive in damaged ships. We could have used biological weapons to wipe out your species, but we only made them sick. You call this restraint? Compared to what you did to us?" "Yes." Her eyes were cold. "You killed 20 billion humans without warning. We've killed thousands of your people in military combat and made millions uncomfortable. We are being merciful, but our mercy has limits." She leaned close to him. "Go back to the Council. Tell them the war is over. They lost. If they want to continue fighting, we will stop showing restraint. We will become the monsters they should have feared from the beginning." Krenth was released in his pod with enough supplies to reach a Council outpost. As he drifted away, he watched the human fleet regroup and jump away, heading toward their next target. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Krenth felt true fear. Not of death, but of what humanity might become if the Council forced them to. Nexus Prime, capital world of the Galactic Council, had never been threatened in its 10,000-year history. The planet-wide city housed trillions of beings from every member species. It was a symbol of peace, prosperity, and civilization. Now it was surrounded by a human fleet. The Wraith-class warships maintained orbit in a formation that made it clear they could destroy the planet's defenses at any moment. Smaller ships patrolled constantly, preventing anyone from leaving or entering the system. Nexus Prime was under siege, and there was nothing the Council could do about it. High Chancellor Velkrin stood in the Council chamber, looking at the representatives of 47 species. Most wouldn't meet his eyes. The Grand Fleet was destroyed. Their fortress worlds were occupied. Their supply lines were severed. In 3 months, humanity had accomplished what should have been impossible. They had beaten the Galactic Council. "We must negotiate," one representative said. "We have no choice." "Never," the Chancellor said. "We do not surrender to primitives. Primitives who destroyed our greatest fleet in 8 hours. Ambassador Velkrin said quietly. His brother glared at him, but he continued. "Primitives who fought with such ferocity that our soldiers are afraid to engage them. Primitives who showed us that our 10,000 years of peace made us weak." I dare speak truth," the ambassador interrupted. "We started this war by attacking them without provocation. We killed billions of their people. We thought we were civilizing them, bringing them into our peaceful union by force. We were wrong. We weren't civilizing them. We were waking a predator that had been sleeping." A communication came through. Admiral Chen was requesting to address the Council. The Chancellor wanted to refuse, but the other representatives overruled him. Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired. 3 years of war had aged her, but her eyes still held that terrible determination. "People of the Galactic Council," she began. "Your military is defeated. Your fleets are destroyed or scattered. Your fortress worlds are under our control. You cannot win this war. You cannot even fight back effectively. It's over. We will never surrender," the Chancellor said. Chen smiled sadly. "I'm not asking you to surrender. I'm offering you a chance at peace." The chamber fell silent. "You attacked us because you believed we were dangerous." Chen continued. "You were right. We are dangerous. Every human alive today has been tempered by 3 years of war, rage, and loss. We have become exactly what you feared. But here's what you didn't understand about humans. We remember." She paused, letting that sink in. "We remember how to be civilized. We remember what it means to show mercy. And we remember that before you attacked us, we wanted peace. We still do, but peace on our terms, not yours. A holographic document appeared, transmitted to every console in the council chamber. These are our conditions, Chen said. First, the Galactic Council will be dissolved. It has proven itself corrupt and too willing to use force against peaceful species. Impossible, the Chancellor started, but Chen continued over him. Second, a new Galactic Assembly will be formed. Every species will have equal representation. No species will have the power to attack another without provocation. And humanity will enforce this rule. You want to be the new council, one representative said bitterly. No, Chen corrected. We want to be the galaxy's peacekeepers. We will patrol space, protect trade routes, and respond to threats. But we will not govern you. We will not tell you how to run your worlds. We will simply ensure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. And if we refuse? The Chancellor asked. Chen's expression hardened. Then we continue this war. We stop showing restraint. We stop limiting our attacks to military targets. We become what you forced us to become, and we will not stop until every council world burns. The silence in the chamber was absolute. You have 48 hours to decide, Chen said. Choose wisely. The broadcast ended. The council debated for 2 days. The Chancellor argued for continued resistance, but he stood alone. Every other representative had seen what human determination could accomplish. They had seen their fleets destroyed, their worlds occupied, their people living in fear. In the end, the vote was unanimous. The Galactic Council accepted humanity's terms. 3 weeks later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the surface of Nexus Prime, in the very same chamber where Earth's ambassador had been threatened years earlier. But this time, human troops lined the walls and General Torres stood beside her. The trials began. Every council member who had voted for the attack on Earth faced charges of war crimes. High Chancellor Velkrin was found guilty on 47 counts of genocide and sentenced to life imprisonment on a human penal world. Ambassador Velkrin, who had opposed the war from the beginning, was spared. Chen met with him privately after the trial. I'm sorry it came to this, he said. I tried to warn them. I know, Chen replied. I've read your reports, your speeches to the council. You understood what we were, even when your own people didn't. What made you so fierce? He asked. I've studied hundreds of species. None fight like humans do. Chen was quiet for a moment, thinking of Earth burning, of 20 billion dead, of 3 years fighting in the darkness. We evolved on a death world, she finally said. For millions of years, everything on our planet tried to kill us. We survived by being smarter, more adaptable and more stubborn than anything else. We learned to use tools, to work together, to never give up no matter how bad things got. She looked out the window at the human ships patrolling above. Your council mistook our love of peace for weakness, our desire for civilization for an inability to be savage. But humans are civilized by choice, not by nature. We choose to be better than our instincts. We choose cooperation over conflict. But when someone threatens our survival, when someone kills our families, all those civilized choices go away. What's left is 4 million years of evolution screaming at us to survive at any cost. And now, Velkrin asked, what happens now that you've won? Now we rebuild, Chen said. The Galactic Assembly will meet for the first time next month. Representatives from every species, including humans, will work together to create a better system.
One based on mutual respect instead of forced compliance. Will it work?
I don't know, Chen admitted. But we have to try. The alternative is continued war, and nobody wants that. She turned to leave, then paused. There's something else you should know, Ambassador. Something I want you to tell every species in the galaxy. Humans are not conquerors. We don't want an empire. We don't want to rule over anyone. But we will never allow ourselves to be victims again. Never. If any species ever attacks humanity or any of our allies, we will respond with everything we have. And now that the galaxy knows what we're capable of, I hope they'll choose peace instead. 50 years later, the Galactic Assembly thrived. Trade flourished between species. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation instead of war. The galaxy entered a new era of peace and prosperity. Human peacekeeping fleets patrolled the space lanes, their Wraith-class ships serving as a reminder of what happened to those who chose violence. But they rarely needed to fight. The memory of humanity's savage counterattack ensured that most disputes were settled peacefully. Admiral Chen, now retired and elderly, stood in a memorial park on Earth. Around her, 20 billion names were carved into black stone walls, each one a person lost in the initial council attack. Visitors came from across the galaxy to pay respects and remember. A young alien, a Velcrin child on a school trip, approached her shyly. "Excuse me, are you Admiral Chen, the one from the war?" "I am," Chen said gently. "My teacher says humans are the reason we have peace now." "Is that true?" Chen looked at the wall of names, thinking of all the people who had died, all the sacrifices made, all the terrible things humans had done to survive. "We're one of the reasons," she said. "But peace isn't maintained by force alone. It's maintained by everyone choosing to respect each other, to talk instead of fight, to remember that violence always costs more than it's worth." "Will there be another war?" the child asked, worried. Chen knelt down to look the child in the eyes. "I hope not. But if there is, I hope people remember what happened when someone attacked humanity. I hope they remember that we didn't want war. We wanted peace. But when forced to fight, we fought with everything we had, and we won." She stood and looked up at the sky where human ships moved between the stars. "The galaxy is safer now because everyone understands something important. Humans will defend themselves and their allies without mercy. We will never allow another genocide. We will never stand by while innocent people suffer, and we will never, ever forget what was done to us." The child nodded solemnly and returned to their class. Chen remained at the memorial until sunset, as she did every year on the anniversary of the attack. She touched the wall, feeling the names under her fingers. Friends, family, billions of souls who never got to see humanity's victory. "We remembered you," she whispered. "We avenged you, and we built a better galaxy in your name. Rest well." As she walked away, a new generation of human peacekeepers prepared to deploy across the stars. They wore the memorial's motto on their uniforms, words that had become humanity's promise to the galaxy. "We remember, we protect, we endure." The Galactic Council had learned too late what it meant to provoke humanity. They had awakened something ancient and fierce, something that had clawed its way to the top of Earth's food chain through sheer determination and refusal to quit. They had learned that humans, when pushed to the edge, would do anything to survive, and the galaxy would never forget that lesson.